good evening, everybody. Dr. Jasjeet is also here. After a very lucid keynote address by Dr. Nick, my job has been made much easier because he seemed to have scared us, everybody. All of us South Asians are scared. Less than 55 years of age, we are going to have a heart attack, most of us. So my talk is going to be about the solution for this problem. Hopefully an innovative solution, as we are here gathered to think of novel or innovative approach to the ongoing problem. We may not have found the exact or appropriate reason for the South Asians being the most prone population world over to have heart disease. Not only at an earlier age, they have heart disease which is more aggressive. We have bad vessels, more inoperable vessels, thin caliber, small caliber vessels, and the outcomes are also not as good as in the Western population or other ethnic groups. So my talk would cover the burden of CVD, already mentioned in detail by Dr. Nick, the lessons we've learned from InterHeart and the PURE studies. What are the approaches to risk reduction? He's in great detail, in very few slides, he's told us that there are multiple risk factors which often go together. So what can be the different approaches we can exercise to reducing this risk? What is the role of combination therapy, if any? The role of polypill, the polycap, which has been developed by Cadila, and does it work? In this era of evidence-based medicine, we cannot talk about anything unless we prove its efficacy in clinical trials. So coming to the epidemiology, it has been changing. We've seen, we are talking more and more about cardiovascular diseases. We have infectious disease specialists sitting here. We attended quizzes where we saw most of the Nobel Prizes went for infectious disease discoveries. But now the focus has shifted to non-communicable diseases. World over, non-communicable diseases are the major killers and are the more commoner diseases because of the advent of antibiotics and anti-infectious agents, we have largely managed to control infectious diseases, but now the epidemics that are raging are of non-communicable diseases. And that is why within non-communicable diseases, cardiovascular diseases are the biggest killers. And Dr. Nick had mentioned that since 2010, India has the largest number of cardiac patients world over. We harbor 60% of the world's cardiac disease patients in our country. So this is a frightening statistics. 60% of the world's heart patients since 2010 are residing in India. So these are the statistics provided by the WHO for India. In 2008 and 2010, non-communicable diseases had become the major killers even in India. And out of the non-communicable diseases, cardiovascular diseases are the most common. Strokes are included in cardiovascular diseases. Risk factors, Dr. Nick has talked about these 9 conventional risk factors. It was often debated that maybe Indians are different, we eat differently, we live differently, and first of all, we have different genetics. So we started blaming our ancestors for having more incidence of heart disease in India. Unfortunately, this InterHeart study, which included India as a study population, busted this myth. The same 9 conventional risk factors are able to explain more than 90% of occurrence of first myocardial infarction world over, including India. So the same risk factors operate in our country, the same risk factors operate in young as well as old, in men as well as women. I'm not going into the details of these slides because Dr. Nick has already talked about it. One thing which we should understand, this figure of 55, he brought out in his slides that in India, less than 55 years of age, we get heart attack more commonly. Besides, if we look at the age prevalence of CVD, we see that at the age of 55, it almost doubles. So 55 is some kind of a threshold after which there's substantial increase in CVD risk all over the world. So how to address this problem? We've all seen the scope of the problem. We have the large number of CVD patients living in our country who already are survivors of either myocardial infarction or are suffering from unstable angina, chronic stable angina, or even strokes for that matter. So most urban societies have elevated levels of risk factors, again discussed previously in great lucidity, and most of the risk factors cluster together. You saw if you are a diabetic, more than 70% chance that you also will have elevated blood pressure. You are also likely to have abnormal lipids. And if you are above 55, you are already at a very high risk. So greater the number of risk factors, greater the risk. And besides, the risk factors tend to cluster together. There was a beautiful slide he showed of the 9 risk factors clustering together like fitting in a maze. So this thing should be remembered. So if we have to prevent CVD, we have to address these risk factors. And there are 9 risk factors, some modifiable, some non-modifiable, something about which we can do nothing, like aging, like family history. We can do nothing about this. But rest of the factors which are largely preventable and modifiable, we can modify, and thereby we can cut down the risk of cardiovascular disease. So what are these risk factors? Very simple, we all know about it. BP lowering, cholesterol lowering, antiplatelet drugs, oral hypoglycemics, weight reduction, exercise, proper diet. So where is the problem then? We have all known about this. Hundreds of drugs are available for treating these risk factors. Why are we not able to manage these risk factors? Why is the epidemic raging even now? So these are the benefits of these drugs. If you lower the blood pressure, you lower the risk of CHD by 20-25%. You lower the risk of stroke by 40%. If you control lipids, again it was shown beautifully in a slide, you cut down the risk by almost 25%. Prescribing aspirin to a patient who's already had a CVD event, you cut down the risk of 35%. So no paucity of interventions. Every day we are innovating. Every day new devices are coming up. New drugs are coming up in the market which are very effective, lower the risk significantly. Yet why are we still battling with this increasing burden of disease in our society? So here we had this very interesting study, pure study, spearheaded by Dr. Salim Yusuf, an Indian scientist, again a brilliant brain. This was a study done in a large number of patients, 1,53,000 patients across 17 countries, and this was a very well designed study to include high income groups, countries, low income group countries, so as not to have any exclusivity. So this was a study which classified patients into urban and rural. That was the acronym PURE for Prospective Urban Rural Epidemiological Study. And in this study, they studied what is the use of these 4 proven drugs, very effective drugs, mortality reducing drugs across the population. What is the use of these drugs in patients who have already had CHD or stroke in the past? So very surprising results. Even in high income countries, you can see as effective a drug as aspirin is being used by only 60% of the patients when they've already had an event and they are at a very high risk of having a second event. The drugs like beta blockers are very less used. Again, even in rural populations, it was the same. And as you proceed with low middle income countries, upper middle income countries, as the affordability goes down, apparently as the income goes down, the use of these drugs is very less. Less than 10% of the patients are using all the 4 drugs in an urban setting, so-called educated patients. In an urban setting, supposedly they are educated, they are aware of the risk. But in our rural population, it was much less. But surprisingly, even in urban population, only 20% in low middle income countries, India comes somewhere here. So in our country, patients who've already had CHD, already had strokes, if you look at these 4 drugs, just 4 drugs need to be given to these patients to substantially cut down their risk of future events. Only 20-25% patients are taking these drugs at the end of say 4 or 5 years. Immediately post an event, patients are prescribed these drugs, but they are no longer taking it at the end of 4 years. The risk has not disappeared. The risk has continued to increase. So this is perhaps the problem. Multiple drugs and affordability of these drugs. So the problem is not with finding new drugs which further reduce mortality. You have these drugs available in the market, and in some populations they are given free of cost also, like in the UK. Even in our country there are some insurance coverages like the central government health scheme, we have the ESIC scheme, we have the separate health scheme for armed forces personnel, where the drugs are provided free of cost. So problem is perhaps not giving them free of cost drugs, problem is somewhere else also. The number of pills a patient has to take, the symptoms these patients don't have, you don't have any symptom, you don't feel any problem. How am I at risk? How am I to know that my risk continues to increase after going through an event related to CHD? Since I'm not feeling anything, I'm going to be fine in the future. So there were studies to analyze this effect also, and it was clearly brought out that pill burden is an important cause of non-compliance. The greater the number of pills, the greater the degree of non-compliance. But the problem is that in CVD you're going to have at least 4 or 5 pills prescribed. I showed you the PURE study where only 4 medications were seen, that was only for CAD. A patient is likely to have diabetes also. Patient is likely to have associated hypertension, which is not going to be controlled perhaps by ACE inhibitor alone or a beta blocker alone. So patient is likely to have 2-3 more drugs added to this prescription. And greater the number of pills, greater the degree of non-compliance. The patient is not likely to continue taking these drugs for life, and the greater the non-compliance, it increases mortality, reduces survival. So drugs are there, free drugs are available, we have to make the patients to take these drugs. So that is where the innovation has to come. So minds were thinking about this problem and they thought, why not think of something else, not just invest money in inventing new drugs, which we have to show to have greater mortality reduction in different ethnic groups, in different populations across the world. Rather than that, they designed to see if we could combine the drugs and give them as a combination. The simple novel therapy of combination drugs, could it reduce the risk of CVD? The answer was yes. So in this simple study, 2004 patients with established CVD or at risk of CVD were enrolled, and they were prescribed a fixed dose combination of aspirin, statin and antihypertensive drug. And it was shown that this simple combination therapy, combining these drugs together, improved compliance. And since it improved compliance, it improved their survival also. So this novel idea of combining these drugs, 3-fold increase in compliance results from combining these 3 class of drugs. Simultaneously, this process was going on, and theoretically this was thought of that even in primary prevention, this was a brilliant paper by Dr. Salim Yusuf. He brought out that if we could combine these drugs, we could achieve 75% risk reduction, relative risk reduction in general population, if all these drugs could be given to general population. And almost simultaneously in 2003, this landmark paper, this paper has been much discussed, much debated, and is a landmark paper which was brought out by Drs. Wald and Law. Again, almost similar data was shown by them. They included a drug folic acid, but Dr. Yusuf did not include folic acid in this. And they said that we could reduce the event by almost 88%. Risk reduction could be achieved if we could combine these drugs and give it to a patient. And this was for largely primary prevention. And now understanding has developed, and now as we go over the years, I have been giving these lectures on polypill for last 4-5 years, and I can recall this slide was not there previously. Now this is endorsed by this textbook which we all respect, Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine. Now they are saying that reducing dosage demand is perhaps the most effective single approach towards enhancing adherence, and fixed dose combination therapy reduces dosage demand. So now we've moved from, rather than innovating new drugs, more expensive drugs, more effective drugs, to even using these drugs which are already available to us more effectively. And the strategy that is coming forward is combination strategy, the polypill strategy is coming ahead. So Polycap was the first polypill in the market, which was designed to include multiple drugs. It had 3 antihypertensive drugs at half the standard dosage: hydrochlorothiazide, atenolol, ramipril, a lipid lowering drug, simvastatin in the dose of 20 milligram, and aspirin, enteric coated formulation. Let me tell you that this is not just this and that, and a cocktail of any 5 drugs can be made. There's a great deal of research required into mixing these drugs together, because you have to ensure that the pharmacokinetic properties remain intact. When we combine any two different chemical products, they should not lose out their efficacy. They should not modify each other's effects. They should not antagonize each other's effect. If efficacy is increased, we should know how much efficacy is increased, because if, say, one drug increases the efficacy of aspirin, we are likely to have more bleeding events by combining aspirin with any other drugs. So it was not just mixing together of any 5 chemical compounds. Great deal of research went into it, and then this molecule was formulated. This polypill with these 5 drugs was finally chosen, and it went into trial. Pharmacokinetic studies had already shown that it maintained the bioavailability of individual components. No interactions between these components were noted, and Polycap preserved the individual profile of each component. So the first part was the TIPS study, the Indian Polycap study, and as we've been greatly enthused in patriotism since our new Prime Minister came, we've been talking about Make in India, Made in India. We should have Indian products, we should boycott Western products. Here we have a product which was developed in India and now being marketed worldwide. For the first time we had this drug, Polycap, which came into the market, and it was published in Lancet. The results of TIPS study were published in the Lancet, one of the most respected journals in medicine, and it showed that Polycap reduces multiple risk factors with improved compliance. So for individual arm, it was studied, it had 9 arms, the patients were divided, 200 patients in each arms, and we thought that let us see how the efficacy works. Polycap resulted in reduction in heart rate because we have atenolol. Similar to giving atenolol alone, we reduced LDL levels similar to giving simvastatin 20 milligram alone, and we ensured platelet reduction. The effects were similar to individual components, and 85% patients completed the trial in Polycap arm, proving that no significant increase in side effects was noted and improved compliance resulted. So these were the results of the TIPS 1 trial. TIPS 2 trial was done with the double dose of polypill components. Again, similar results were obtained, that more reduction in blood pressure, more reduction in lipids, and hence more reduction of CHD risk, greater reduction in the risk of strokes. So it clearly showed that this strategy of combining these 5 medications in the form of one capsule is an effective strategy of ensuring compliance, thereby reducing mortality and making sure that the patients are taking these 5 drugs. Besides, as we've sent a mission to the Mars at a very, very low cost, we've managed to produce this drug also at a very, very low cost. And that is the beauty of Indian innovation, that we provide these drugs at a low cost, which can be taken with the can be taken by the physician at least, because 80% of the patients in our country pay from their pockets still. So the benefits of polypill are significant CV risk reduction is obtained, improves compliance and adherence, which is what we are dealing with, the major problem, reduce side effects, similar side effects, because we've included 3 drugs, BP lowering drug, at half standard doses. So the efficacy is improved, yet the side effects are minimized. And of course the saving of costs, because the patient is not having to buy different components separately at different costs. One drug ensures compliance also. And now this is generating interest worldwide. Even policymakers are looking at this as a useful strategy. So who are the candidates where we can give this? Of course, all the patients who already have had a CHD event, be it a coronary event or a stroke, can be prescribed one Polycap. And also for all the patients at very high risk, for example, like patients more than 55 years of age or additional one risk factor, can be prescribed this polypill. So a large number of patients we are looking at who can actually benefit from this combination strategy. So this was a slide from innovations that are coming in from our country and are expected in different fields. And in pharmaceutical field, this combination strategy or the Polycap has been hailed as the latest and the most interesting innovation that has come out. And Harrison has a whole one chapter dedicated to the concept of polypill now. So very apt and very simple quote, which is actually the basis of this talk really. Drugs don't work unless patients take them. So drugs are available in the market, they reduce mortality. We may have any amount of studies done on them. We may give any amount of lectures on them. But we have to make the patients take these medicines if we are to bring down the risk in our country. So we have to come out with strategies, and one of those is Polycap. It can improve adherence in secondary prevention and improve compliance, thereby bring down the risk substantially. So to summarize, Polycap is a unique fixed dose combination polypill consisting of 3 antihypertensive drugs at half standard doses, 1 lipid lowering drug which is simvastatin, and 1 antiplatelet, this is incorrect, and has shown efficacy and safety in 2 large randomized patient trials available in the market for use, outside India also being approved, and it shows that the patients are increasingly accepting it. Perhaps we may have another trial to show that the use of polypill has ensured compliance over a longer period as compared to the compliance rate in pure study. Thank you. We can have questions later on if you have any.